In the last video, I mentioned our emotions are responses to stimuli chosen according to our beliefs and values. In this video, I'm going to go over some ways that I've come up with to help us identify what our values and beliefs are. This will help us understand why we feel the way we feel, why we do the things we do, help us make decisions that make us feel more fulfilled, and become better people. To avoid working on this list longer than you need to, try to stick to the most important things that make the biggest impacts on your life. There are lots of tiny things we could think of that won't be useful because they just don't matter in our lives that much. Plus, we can always modify the list as we go about our lives if you think of any other things that didn't seem important at the time. Something else to keep in mind is to try not to misunderstand your beliefs and values and the order that they go in. When I was doing this myself, I thought I valued staying within my comfort zone over pursuing my dream career, when in reality, I often don't pursue what I want because of a fear of failure that comes from the belief that if I fail, I won't be able to financially recover. So it wasn't that I valued being comfortable, it was that I valued my financial well-being. The first step is to simply write down whatever comes to our minds. If you want to do this while following along to this video, think of your most important beliefs. Remember, beliefs are things you think are true, like I believe in God, I believe honesty is the best policy, I think my brother is a great person. Pause the video. Go ahead, I'll wait. Okay, now think of your most important values. Remember that values are people, things, and ideas that are important to you. Family, honesty, your personal possessions, freedom, creativity. Pause the video. Take your time. Now remember that I said most of the time values can be traced back to a belief. You can look at your beliefs and think of values that come from those beliefs, or look at your values and try thinking of the belief that makes you value that thing. If you can, try to categorize your values under the beliefs they correspond to. Sometimes the backbone of a value is another value, and you'll have to keep climbing the ladder to find the root. For example, you might value money because you value the fancy trips you can afford, because you value the sense of freedom and adventure they provide. I'm going to take this opportunity to clear something up. I said before that most times, if not all, we can trace our values to a belief, but sometimes the backbone is another value or an emotion. I wasn't wrong when I said that, because I did say most times, if not all, but I just wanted to make sure that you were aware of that since I didn't explain this aspect. Sometimes we value things because we are hardwired to feel good in response to certain stimuli. In the example I was just giving with taking trips, the root could be that you are hardwired to feel happiness when you feel a sense of freedom. So there is no belief triggering the happiness, it's just how you are as a person. I guess you could say that's a belief, like taking trips is awesome is a statement someone could believe in and argue for, but that belief comes from your experience, which is feeling happy when you go on a trip. So when you think about it, beliefs are formed by our experiences, but that's a topic that I'll cover in another video, so let's not worry about that aspect right now. Once you write down everything you can think of, go through the process again, but this time try focusing on specific topics. Try to think of topics or things that are important to you, but if you can't think of any, here are some to get you started. What are your beliefs on religion, politics, humanity, morality, yourself, the people in your life like your mom, your brother, your best friend, your worst enemy? Now think of your values. Can you think of any values that come from the beliefs you wrote down previously? For example, if you believe in God, do you value prayer? Now think about the things, people, places, and concepts in your life you can't live without. Maybe it's your house, your family, your car, your freedom, or a sense of security. Now think of the principles you live by. Do you value honesty, forgiveness, charity? When you're done with that, we're going to think of more things by approaching this backwards. Instead of thinking of our values and beliefs and trying to identify the behaviors they cause, take a look at your behaviors and identify the beliefs and values that motivate you to do that thing. Why do you even get up in the morning? Why did you choose the career that you did? Why do you avoid certain people? Why do you like to spend so much money on your muscle car from the 80s? Why do you like to watch TV after you get home from work? Just like before, see if you can identify what beliefs your values are coming from or what values your beliefs create. Next, go through each of the emotions in sachet and think of the things that make you feel those emotions. Then try to identify why you feel that way. What makes you happy? What makes you sad? What makes you angry? What do you get excited for? And so on. Do you feel happy when you play with your dog? Then maybe you value your dog. Do you feel angry when you see a parent hit their kid? Then maybe you believe corporal punishment should not be used to discipline kids. Do the the process again, starting from writing down whatever comes to your mind to using sachet to identify values and beliefs, but this time try to identify beliefs and values that aren't so virtuous but aren't necessarily bad. If you're writing your list as you're watching this video, I can bet what you've written so far are virtuous and altruistic things like believing in God, valuing family, and hard work. But in order to understand ourselves, we must observe all of our aspects, which means being honest with ourselves, which means admitting things we may not like to admit. Do you believe you're not artistically talented? Do you believe humanity is generally evil? Do you value money, sex, or power? While these thoughts, beliefs, and values are not considered virtuous or good by most people, they aren't necessarily bad. Money is important for paying bills and buying things we enjoy. Sex is pleasurable and is necessary for a healthy relationship. Power means you can influence others or that you can accomplish your goals with the help of the people who work under you. Believing that humanity is generally evil will make you more cautious and therefore help you avoid bad situations when getting involved with people who you don't know on a personal level. Not believing that you're artistically talented won't matter if you don't have a career that involves that set of skills. Remember to tie back values to beliefs and find values based on beliefs. Once you do that, repeat the process, but this time think of beliefs or values that are straight up bad. Remember, we want to be honest with ourselves and we need to be able to admit our faults in order to fix them. Do you believe people from a certain ideological group or race are untrustworthy? Do you believe life is pointless? Do you like how you feel when you break someone's heart by cheating on them? Do you like how you feel when you do drugs? Remember to tie back values to beliefs and find values based on beliefs. The last way of finding your beliefs and values is to think of the things you don't believe in and that you don't value. Sometimes when trying to figure out who we are, it's helpful to figure out who we aren't. And by identifying things that we don't believe in or things that we don't value, we can then figure out why we don't believe or value those things, which could lead to finding another value or belief that we do hold. Maybe you don't value making an honest living because you believe the world is fucked up and you have to survive any way you can. Maybe you don't value religion because you believe it blinds people to the truth. Going back to my example about cheating, maybe it's not that you get a rush from cheating, but rather you simply don't value other people's feelings. Now try to think of your anti-values and anti-beliefs, things that are the direct opposite of what you believe or value. Can you think of any values or beliefs that other people hold that fly in the face of what you stand for? Now, can you think of the values and beliefs that you hold that those anti-values and anti-beliefs are conflicting with? Maybe the belief that being gay is okay is offensive to you because you believe being gay is immoral. Maybe the belief that all people should be able to own guns is offensive to you because you believe if you shoot a home intruder, you value your things more than human life. After you write down all the values and beliefs you can think of, the next step is to put them in order. As of right now, I can't think of a way to order your beliefs other than by how strongly you believe them to be true. And I can't think of why you would want to do that other than figuring out which of your beliefs you're not willing to budge on and which ones you're open to being convinced that the alternative is true. But hey, that could be an important thing to know about yourself, right? I don't think it's possible to list your beliefs by order of importance because beliefs are what you think is true. One truth is not more important than the other, they are all equally true. But your values can be arranged by order of importance, and the amount of importance that each of those values have is going to depend on the beliefs that those values are based on. Let's say you believe that the world is going to become uninhabitable and all living things will die within your lifetime because of global warming, and you also believe that the earth is flat. You're going to value global warming awareness way more than flat earth awareness because your existence and that of everyone you care about hinges on this idea that we're all going to die. While people knowing the truth about the earth being flat would be nice because everybody would know the truth and would be more enlightened, people's lives are not depending on this knowledge. Of course, this depends on whether you believe life is worth saving in the first place. To make sure you have correctly ordered your values from most important to least important, take a look at the first thing on your list and the second and ask yourself, if something were to happen and these two values came into conflict with each other, would I really want to choose the first value over the second? For example, let's say my first value is morality and my second value is family. To determine if I place these things in the correct order, I can pretend that I've been put into a situation where I have to steal in order to feed my family. I will need to ask myself, what's more important, that I do the moral thing and I don't steal, or the lives of my family members? If the answer is yes, I would choose the first thing over the second, then you already put the values in the correct order. If no, then you need to make some changes to your list. Then compare the first value to the third. then the fourth, and so on. Once you compare the first value to all the other values on the list, compare the second value to all the values on the list that are below second place. Then compare the third value to all the other values below third place, and so on. Change the list as much as necessary to make an order that feels like it correctly represents your priorities and who you are as a person. Remember to be honest with yourself, and you may value something highly that maybe you shouldn't. It's okay, the whole point is to first learn about yourself so you can fix any problems later. Once you do all this, you should have a better understanding of yourself and why you do the things you do, and start making decisions that will make you feel more fulfilled. One of the reasons, if not the only reason, hard decisions are hard is you don't have a clear understanding of your own priorities. But now you have a list that you can refer to make those decisions. Should I move to get a job that has better pay, or stay here with my friends and family that I grew up with? The best decision is the one that properly prioritizes your values, so you have to ask yourself, do you value your income or your friends and family more? It'll be hard to figure out if you don't have a clear idea of where those two things stand on the totem pole, and by creating this list, you can figure out whether or not you've been doing the things that matter to you, and if not, now you know you need to make some life changes if you want to live a more fulfilling life. You can go over this list to make sure that you've been prioritizing the right things in your life, and you can try to identify any values or beliefs that you shouldn't have. For example, maybe you realize that you believe you're a failure and will never amount to anything. This would be a belief that you will need to work toward changing so you can pursue what you want without having a voice telling you that you can't do it. Or maybe you realize you value sleeping with lots of women because it makes you feel like a badass, and that's not something worth valuing, and it's not respectable. All the self-help videos that I've made so far have been precursors to the next video I'm going to make, which is how to practice emotional intelligence, which is pretty much the be-all end-all way to help yourself. But that doesn't mean that it's going to be the last self-help topic. Being able to practice emotional intelligence does require some rewiring of the brain, which I mentioned before I don't have a good grasp on how to do, but I think I actually might have figured it out. So that video will probably be just as important as how to practice emotional intelligence, but I don't feel quite ready to make that video yet. And there are lots of other topics regarding emotion that are more specific that I think deserve a closer look at. Even if you have a wide encompassing technique to cover everything, some things are just very nuanced and need closer attention. And there are lots of topics that deal with things other than emotions that I want to look into to improve my life, like how do I find a healthy diet that works for me? How do I learn conversation skills? How do I get better sleep? And so on. I'm going to work through each of these topics one at a time and then make videos as I become more experienced in each. But that's it for now. I hope you found this video helpful. Sincerely, just the guy trying to be better.